What's up everyone, here is AhkTaar. Welcome back on my YouTube channel for another guide on Infinite Magicraid, and this time we are going to talk about everything you have to know about your gear. So in order to talk about that, I prepared a lot of stuff right here, as you can see, so we are going to talk about that. So, first of all, let me talk about that. I made a guide for the 6-star gear and 5-star gear, because even in endgame you have some piece of gear 5-star you can use, and you're gonna see that they are for some reason really good sometimes. So on the first page here you have the main stats of all your gear. So first of all the main gear, and then all artifacts. So on the gear you can have a 2160 attack on the weapon, the same on defense, almost the same to 21,600 on HP, 216 speed for the boots, and this is always the same stats everywhere. As you can see here on the artifact, this is the class artifact, you can have some HP, attack, defense, crit rate, crit damage, mastery, but more often for your DPS we are gonna recommend to use this one instead of the attack one, and then it's gonna depend on the heroes you are gonna use. I recommend to use HP over defense on all your heroes because HP enemies can't really lower your max HP. You have only 2 units to do that. You have AhkTaar and you have Lamb. But in fact it's okay, because we can reduce your defense, and if you have a lot of HP then you're gonna stay alive longer in PvP. And also in PvP in Classic Arena you have a buff based on your max HP, so it's better to have a lot of HP than defense. Also you have some dots, and the dots can inflict some damage to you ignoring the defense. So one more time, HP is better than defense, but you want to increase your defense on specific units who deal some damage based on their defense, such as Brynhild for example. So that was all for that. So this is what you have in terms of stats on the first artifact. HP, attack, defense, crit rate, crit damage, mastery is the best way in the game to get these 3 stats. So prioritize these ones on the first artifact depending on the hero you are building. 6% is pretty insane to get some crazy stats here. For the second artifact, the mark artifact, here you can get some HP, attack, defense, effect hit, effect resistance, and healing effect. One more time, for these 3 stats it's the best way to get some, so use that in priority on your heroes. For the faction artifact you can get HP, attack, defense, and speed. I am almost only using speed artifacts in the last spot here. So I have some specific heroes on which I am using an attack one because I want to play them slow, or a defense one. For a Brynhild for example, you don't want her to have too much speed, so it depends on what you want, but most of the time you're gonna want to use the speed artifact here. So that was the stats on 6-star equipment, and now this is what you get on 5-star equipment. So you can use a 5-star equipment, a 5-star gear on your heroes. You are not gonna lose a ton of stats in fact, because here, as you can see, look at the difference, you have only 360 more attack, defense, 3160 HP here, and the speed is important though, so it's hard to use a hero with a 5-star boots for example, but for the rest, for the other stuff here, it's pretty interesting. Same comment for the artifacts, but you are losing something around 3%, but it's not gonna be gonna do a huge difference in fact, or maybe if you need just a bit more of your stats, for example, if you are lacking 3% of crit rate, it can be really important. Crit damage is just a bit of extra damage in comparison here, then it's gonna make a difference on the substats. Here for the speed one, this is important. Speed is really important, especially in PvP. Yeah, and in endgame dungeons such as Abyss, stages 26 and over, it's gonna be important because the boss have more than 2320 speed, so you want to have 6-star artifacts and boots on your support to play before the boss. Really important. So that was all for the main stats here, but what really matters are the substats. So let's have a look to the substats. Here you have a lot of things. As you can see, you have different rarity on your gear, and depending on that you can have more procs on your substats. For example, on a common one you get no substat at the beginning before upgrading your gear, so if you are upgrading to +4 then you are gonna have an extra substat, to +8 you're gonna have a second substat, +12 the third substat, and +16 you're gonna get the fourth substat. If you already have the rare quality here, then you're already having a 1 substat. So the first proc is gonna 100% proc on the first substat. So in some specific cases, rare gear can be really interesting, especially if you have a substat you really want to use on your hero. For example, if you don't have good speed on your heroes, if you have a speed as a substat here, it can be really interesting. For example, if you have a look here, you have the minimum procs and a maximum procs for every piece of gear. For a 6-star equipment here, the minimum speed is 25 on your gear and the maximum can be 35. So if you have a 35 substats on a rare gear here, if it procs to the maximum, you can have 70 speed bonus with a rare equipment. And if you are lucky enough, you can get the stats you want after on the next procs, so it can help a lot. And it makes a huge difference with the quality of your gear. For example, on a 6-star gear, if you are lucky enough to have a speed substat in it, maxed out, if you have all the procs coming on your speed, this is the maximum amount of speed you can have on one piece of gear, 175 speed. And the minimum, if all the procs are on the speed substat, you can have at least 125. So this is really great. But look at the other stats also. The minimum HP 2500, maximum 3500, 5% HP minimum, 7% maximum, 170 attack flat, 240 maximum, attack rate, and the other stats. The attack rate, defense rate, crit damage, effect hit, effect resistance, mastery, and healing effect are situated between 3.4% and 4.7%. So here they are the same. If you have a look to the 5-star piece of gear here below, you can have a look. HP flat, this is not making a huge difference here, from 2000 to 2500. For the HP rate, 4% minimum, we have a 5% here to a 5% max. So here, yeah, it does make a difference. We have 2% in difference on the maximum, but if you can have a 6-star piece of gear with only bad procs, and if you have only good procs on your 5-star gear, then you can have almost the same, in fact, almost the same power, and this is really important. It is even more important in terms of speed, because here, as you can see, you can have between 20 and 25 speed on a 5-star gear, and if you are trying to upgrade a legendary 5-star piece of gear with a speed substat, you can have between 100 and 125 amount of speed on one piece of gear, 5-star, if you are lucky enough to have full procs on the speed substat. And this is really interesting. Here, if you have 4 procs on an epic one, then look at that, you can have between 80 and 100 speed. So this is why I'm still trying today my 5-star piece of gear, because okay, I'm sacrificing a bit of other stats, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna make a huge difference on your heroes to use a 5-star piece of gear in comparison with a 6-star piece of gear. So, the maximum stats here are pretty nice, though. If you are targeting the HP, for example, you can have a maximum between 25 and 35% if you are lucky enough on the legendary piece of gear, which is pretty insane. In terms of crit rate, 18%, 13% here, you still have 10% and 13% here, and in average, if you are situated normally in average on blue stats, blue gears, so this is what you can get. 2 procs on 1 substat, and it can help a lot. 2 procs, I mean 3 procs, the original one, the basic one, and the 2 others on the same substat. So this is what you can have. You can have up to 105 speed on a blue piece of gear if you are crazy lucky, and between 72 and 105. This is still interesting though. The other stats can be really important. Imagine having a lot of crit rate on your gear. You can have that on your gear and on your artifacts though, so it can be really interesting. Now let me go back on the game and let's check that together. So this is my Ben Austin, okay? This is my Ben Austin. Look at the amount of stats he has. He has a huge amount of HP and defense and speed, effect hit, etc. Now this is the gear I have on him. I have 2 pieces of 5-star equipment. Also, a 5-star gear is even better if it is a forge set. In here it is this set, the first aid, and this is the best set in the game because you have the 3 stats here at the below here, which is pretty insane in fact. But even if I don't have that, I'm pretty sure that I have other heroes with 5-star gear. Let me check that. Let me check. I'm pretty sure, yeah, look at that, this is my Guhana. I have a feather set here with a 70 amount of speed as a substat. This is not the best gear in the game, but it is still usable, so I have that on my Guhana. And I also have another 5-star piece of gear, and this one is not that great because I have only 41 speed here. But at the end of the day, you have many heroes on your account, so in fact, just try your luck. Every gear on which you have some speed, even more if it is a speed set of equipment here, such as the basic speed, the dexterity one, the feather set, or the first aid set, try to proc your substats here. 41 is still interesting because I also have the speed bonus here, the healing effect and the effect hit, and I have a nice amount of substats, effect hit, HP rate and defense rate. So it's really interesting. And this is not the best set I have on her because, as you can see, the substats, I have no more procs on speed, but I'm still using that. And using that, I have 2400 speed on my Guhana, so it's really important. And as I was saying to you, here I'm using, okay, this is a support, so it's a support one, HP one. Here I have some healing effect, and here some speed. If I go on my Catherine, here I have some defense, but it would be better if it was an HP one, but I'm using the other HP ones on my other heroes, so adjust your gear in function of what you have. Here I have another healing effect, and here I have a speed one. If I go on my Nita, here I have a mastery one. If I go on my, yeah, look at that before, effect hit one and speed one. If I go on my AhkTaar, here crit rate, effect hit and speed. Even on my DPS, I have a speed one at the end because speed really matters. Here I have an attack one, because I don't need to have that much effect hit on her, and I don't need a healing effect and effect resistance on the Lucia. So this is why I prioritized my attack. But it's really situational though. Here I have some crit rate, and this is the same thing I am repeating on all my heroes. In terms of what you have to build first, build the gear, focus on your best DPS and your best support hero, your best tank, and using only that, focusing them only, then you are gonna make them shine, and the other stuff you are gonna get, won't use on your main heroes, put them on your other heroes. This is what I did. I am focusing everything for my Lucia, and the other stuff not good on her, I'm using them on my other heroes. So now let's talk about the different sets of gear. As you can see, we have basic gear that we can farm in dungeons, okay? The attack, defense, HP, speed, crit rate, crit damage, effect hit, tenacity, leech, mastery, healing effect, effect resistance. Then we have the basic tier. This is tier 1 gear sets. Then we have tier 2 sets. This is the ones you can forge in the forge and craft in the forge using basic gear. And then you have the tier 3 sets, and in tier 3 you have the 3 ones here with 3 substats. Tier 3 is the best gear in the game, but you can't craft it, so it doesn't really matter to use only forge set on your heroes, because as you can see I have huge stats on my Nita. Here I have a huge amount of attack, effect hit and mastery, but I'm not using only forge set. I have only one set, and then this is a basic set on her. So try to proc your basic stuff here. It can help. If you have a look in the forge, this is what we have at the moment. The 3 top gear here, a tier 3 gear. We have the tier 2 gear then. And we can't craft the tier 3 gear. We can only forge it with ingots we get on the hardest events in the game, and then we have the others we can basically forge and craft using the gear we have in dungeons. So we have different kind of dungeons, 3 different types. Here, first of all, if you are early game or mid game, you want to focus on Gwyneth, because at the beginning of the game, the best heroes we can have are daughters, HP burners, bleeders, and poisoners. Burners are really specific, and trust me, you don't want to build them early. So Gwyneth here, if you do only him, he provides mastery and effect hit set, and farming only Gwyneth, you can have the 2 sets required to forge this one. And this is the best gear you can have on all daughters in the game. Maybe you can use a penetration set on your Lucia because she doesn't require to have a lot of effect hit, but for the others, HP burners heroes, you have also poisoners, every daughters, this is the most generic set in the game. So farming only Gwyneth, you can craft this gear. So this is really important. So what piece of gear should you use to craft? I'm gonna talk about that later, just concentrate on that. Here, so, first goal is to farm Gwyneth until your daughters have a good gear. If you are planning to use some direct damage heroes, then you can farm both Gwyneth and Efrit, but I don't really recommend to do that. Farming only Gwyneth, you get also crit rate sets, and you can apply only crit rate sets on your direct damage heroes. This is what I am doing currently. If I show you my DPS, here this is my AhkTaar. He has a crit rate and that. Then I can show you my Ikina, 2 crit sets. So farming on the Gwyneth, you have everything you need for your damage dealers in the game. Also, you have some defense sets you can put on your supports early game. Then, once your daughters are correctly set up, you can farm ROM for more for PvP and endgame content, because you want to have the most speed as you can on your heroes, and this is the best way to get your speed here. So focus on him after focusing on Gwyneth. Ifrit, in fact, is not that much a big deal. In PvP, maybe because now we have dexterity sets using a resistance set and speed set, maybe you can try to farm these two, but if you farm only ROM, you can also craft the feather set using speed and HP sets in the forge, so this is really interesting. So now let's talk about the gear before using them to craft your gear. For example, here on the speed sets, I'm always trying my substat here before using this gear in the forge. For example, if I have a speed here, I am gonna try to roll on the speed, and if it doesn't work, then I'm gonna unlock the gear and I'm gonna use this in the forge. Because in the forge you are not sure about the substat you're gonna have on your gear, so it's really important to try your gear here, your basic gear, before crafting your other stuff. This is what I recommend to use. For example, this one, attack and effect hit, I'm not gonna keep this one, so this is the reason why this is not locked at the moment. And here, as you can see, look at that, on my Catherine, as I said to you, this is my fastest unit in the game, and I'm using a basic stuff, because here I was lucky enough to get a lot of speed in substats, and same for this piece of gear. So this is what I recommend to do. On your supports, try only pieces of gear with speed in substats. This is what I'm doing. If I have a piece of gear without a speed in substats, boom, craft directly, or I sell the stuff. If it is not a purple, I'm selling. It's only blue, green. If it is only blue, green, or common, I am selling everything. If it is a purple or yellow without a speed substat, I'm keeping it for the forge in order to craft a better piece of gear. For my DPS here, I am trying to get offensive stats. If I can get a speed substat, it can be great, because the fastest your DPS, the better. And if I have only HP stuff, this one is interesting because I have a lot of crit rate, but if I have something like that, I'm not gonna keep this one, it's gonna go in the forge, because I don't have attack rate, I don't have crit rate, I don't have crit damage, so it's a bad one. If I have at least 2 substats I need, I'm keeping the stuff. So this is what I'm doing, and same for my daughters. I'm trying to get effect hit, mastery, HP rate, attack rate, and if I don't have that, and also some speed, I am selling my stuff, or I am keeping it for the forge. So, one last thing before ending the video. In the forge, you want to focus on this set only, because this is the best one. You can use it on every hero in the game. Even if it is not a healer, you can still use it on your daughter, such as Hezenja, because you are gonna get some speed and some effect hit. And imagine that if you have some mastery and effect hit in substat or HP rate, your Hezenja is gonna be really happy. And this is what I am using on my Hezenja though. Here this one is not that great, it's really specific. You can use it on a Lucia or on a Walter, on a Melia for example, but it's not common to everyone, so I don't recommend to use this one. This one neither, because HP resistance tenacity can be interesting for some specific heroes, but at the end of the day you want to have a lot of speed on your heroes only. Here with these ingots, I would like to I would recommend to craft only dexterity set because you want to focus on your your supports first. This is the main goal in the game, having super fast supports. So you are gonna be faster than every boss with all your supports in the game, faster than everybody in the arena, and your supports can increase the speed and the turn meter of your other heroes, so this is the most important one. And also it increases the effect resistance, so it's a great one. Then here with these ingots I would like to do the same for this stuff only. And for the last ones, this set only. With you doing only that, you are gonna be the best in the game. This is the most optimal stuff I recommend to build. Or I recommend other stuff, but it's niche stuff. For example, if you are planning to build a Brynhild, yeah, this stuff is gonna be the best one to have on Brynhild, but it's really specific to the hero you want to build, and this is the same for others. I mean, this one I don't recommend to build it. This one is really niche. You want to use that on Lucia, for example. Bloodthirsty, avoid this one, it's a bad one. Guardian set, avoid this one. Holy set, not a great set. Endurance, it's interesting but only for HP burners, so avoid that. You won't use it on your other daughters, and here both of these sets are great for the damage dealers. But if I had to choose between this one and this one, I would recommend to build this one because you have some heroes such as Elbeck and AhkTaar who are not scaling their damage on the attack, so you want to have crit rate and crit damage. This one is better than this one. This is my personal So that was all for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If it's the case, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.